"This is all your fault," Melissa shrieked, her voice piercing the air as two police officers gripped her arms outside our cozy little shop, Keepsake Corner. Her face was a mess of fury, mascara streaking down her cheeks like war paint. "My son was just being a kid. You can't do this to me." Through the wide storefront windows, her 10-year-old son, Ethan, was still inside, toppling a display of handcrafted pottery while customers stood frozen, phones out, filming the disaster unfolding. I've been at Keepsake Corner for 2 years, arranging trinkets and dealing with the occasional grumpy customer in our quiet Oak Ridge Heights neighborhood. But nothing saw could have prepared me for Melissa Thornton, the self-crowned queen of the Oak Ridge Heights HOA. Everyone knew her. She was the woman who'd fine you for a slightly overgrown lawn or lecture you at community meetings about standards. And now, here she was, her designer purse swinging wildly as she pointed at me, screaming, "I'll have you fired. Do you know who I am?" Oh, I knew exactly who she was. It all kicked off 2 hours earlier. I was setting up a new display of handmade candles, their soft lavender scent filling the air, when the bell above the door jingled. Melissa strutted in like she owned the place, her sunglasses perched on her head, pushing Ethan ahead of her. "We're just looking," she announced, her voice loud enough to turn heads, carrying that mix of arrogance and menace that made you feel small. I gave my usual smile, "Let me know if you need help," and went back to my work, keeping things friendly. But Ethan made a beeline for our most delicate display. Hand-blown glass figurines, each one a tiny, shimmering work of art by a local craftsman. They were fragile, and I mean fragile. "Those are pretty delicate," I said lightly, trying to sound helpful, not worried. "They're all handmade." Melissa's head whipped toward me, her eyes narrowing. "Are you saying my son can't handle himself? He's gifted, you know. His teachers say he's got exceptional coordination." Meanwhile, Ethan was grabbing figurines with sticky fingers, tossing them from hand to hand like they were dollar store toys. My stomach twisted, but I kept my smile. "They're just really breakable," I said, "and we've had accidents before. I'd hate for him to feel bad if something broke." I was trying to give the kid an out, to steer him towards something sturdier without making it a big deal. But Melissa's voice turned icy. "Are you targeting my son because I'm the head of the Oak Ridge Heights HOA? I don't appreciate discrimination." Before I could respond, Ethan, egged on by his mom's defense, started juggling 3 figurines at once. My heart sank. I opened my mouth to say something, but then saw The sound of shattering glass echoed through the shop like a gunshot. 3 figurines hit the floor, splintering into a million glittering pieces. Ethan froze for a second, then grinned like he'd just won a prize. Melissa didn't miss a beat. "Your display was unstable," she snapped, jabbing a finger at me. "No wonder they fell. This place is a hazard for kids." I stared, dumbfounded, as Ethan, now practically buzzing with excitement, moved to a shelf of jewelry boxes, running his hand along them and knocking several to the floor with a clatter. My pulse raced. "Ma'am," I said, stepping forward, "I need you to please control your son. Those figurines are due law 40 each, and he's broken at least 3. I kept my voice steady, professional, but inside I was boiling. Melissa's face turned beet red. "How sao de sao zu? This is awful customer service, VYC. If your displays were secure, this wouldn't have happened. And if you weren't harassing us, you could have stopped this. I'm not paying for your incompetence." That's when my manager, Tom, stepped out from the back. Tom's his 50s, the kind of guy who's seen it all in retail and stays cool no matter what. He took one look at the mess broken glass. Ethan still roaming free. Melissa's furious glare and walked over with that calm, measured stride of his. "Everything okay here?" he asked, his voice polite but firm. Melissa didn't let me get a word in. "No, it's not okay," she spat. "Your employee is harassing me and my son, and now she's trying to scam me for your shoddy setup." As she ranted, Ethan knocked over a rack of greeting cards, sending them fluttering to the floor like confetti. Customers were staring now, some pulling out their phones, sensing a show. Tom surveyed the damage, unruffled. "Ma'am," he said, "I can see several items have been broken. Our policy posted at the entrance, states customers are responsible for damages due to mishandling. The total comes to about due la 160. That's when Melissa lost it. Her face twisted, and she let out a sound like a wounded animal. La 160? For some cheap junk? Do you know who I am? I run the Oak Ridge Heights HOA. I know the mayor. You can't treat me like this. The shop went quiet, except for the sound of Ethan pushing more items off a shelf, glancing at his mom like he was waiting for applause. Customers were openly filming now, and Melissa was too caught up in her rage to notice. I volunteer for charity, she screamed. I plan community events. And this is how you treat a pillar of society? By scamming me. Her voice hit a pitch that made my ears ring. Tom didn't flinch. Ma'am, this isn't about who you are. It's about the damage. We can process payment now, or we can set up a plan if that's easier. Melissa grabbed Ethan's arm. We're Leah VYing. You can't hold us here. She stormed toward the door, her heels clicking like gunfire, dragging Ethan behind her. Tom stepped toward the entrance, not blocking it, but standing firm. Ma'am, if you leave without settling this, I'll have to call the police for destruction of property. Melissa spun around, her eyes wild. The police? You sao tinting sao meh. This is false imprisonment. I'll have his place shut down. She shoved past Tom, knocking over a sign by the door with a deliberate swing of her arm. You're done, she screamed. Tom pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police now, ma'am. Please stay until they arrive. To my shock, Melissa didn't jump in her car and peel out. Instead, she stood in the parking lot, yelling in her phone, while VYing her arms like she was directing traffic. I figured she was calling her lawyer, maybe the mayor she kept name-dropping. Within minutes, 2 police cruisers rolled in. Melissa marched right up to the officers, clearly thinking they'd take her side. I couldn't hear her, but her wild gestures and pointing at the shop said it all. One officer came inside, calm and professional, taking statement from me, Tom, and a few customers who'd seen everything. One woman even offered to send him a VY Deo she'd recorded. Outside, Melissa's shouting grew louder, her voice carrying through the glass. This is harassment. They endanger my child. The officers stayed composed, speaking in low tones that only seemed to make her angrier. Ethan stood off to the side, looking small and uneasy for the first time as his mom's meltdown spiraled. I stepped outside just as an officer said, Ma'am, I need you to calm down. This is your final warning. Melissa's response? She jabbed her finger into his chest. Don't tell me to calm down. Do you know who I am? I'll have your badge. And she tried to shove past him and get to Tom, still screaming. That was the last straw. In one swift move, the officers turned her around, cuffs clicking into place. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct and assaulting an officer, one said, reading her rights as she shrieked, her voice cracking with rage. Ethan stood frozen, his eyes wide, looking like a scared little kid as his mom was led to the cruiser, still yelling about lawsuits and her connections. A female officer knelt beside him, speaking softly. Later, I heard they called his dad to pick him up. The fallout was brutal. Melissa faced charges for disorderly conduct, destruction of property, and resisting arrest. At her hearing, she was slapped with a due la 5,000 fine, community serve VYC, and ordered to pay full restitution to our shop. But the real damage was to her reputation. Word of her arrest spread like wildfire through Oak Ridge Heights. Neighbors, fed up with her HOA tyranny, called an emergency meeting. 3 days later, Melissa was voted off the board, effective immediately. When she heard the vote, her face went blank, like the world had stopped. This is a mistake, she whispered, her voice hollow. I've given everything to this community. For the first time, there was no fight in her, just the stunned realization that her actions had finally caught up. What do you think? Did Melissa deserve her public downfall? Or was the store too harsh in holding her accountable? Should Ethan face consequences for his actions? Or is he just a kid caught in his mom's chaos? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this story got your blood pumping, and subscribe for more wild tales like this one.